Good afternoon. Welcome to the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections. This is a regular meeting. The date is August 8th and the time is 4:32 p.m. We're at 120 West Doherty Street in Athens, Georgia. First item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I so moved.
Okay,
A second.
motion, Mr. Shirley, second, Ms. Till. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, agenda is adopted. In your packet, you will find 4 sets of minutes. They're from July 11th, which was a regular meeting, July 18th, special meeting. And that special meeting was the voter challenge hearing. July 18th, was a special meeting. And July 19th, we held another special meeting. We love to have meetings. The floor is open. If a member would like to make a minute to approve the minutes, make a motion to approve the minutes as a slate. Otherwise, we can look at them individually.
I move that we accept the 4 sets of minutes
Okay.
as prepared.
All right. We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are adopted. Next item on the agenda is public comment. And it looks like we have one person wishing to make public comment. A moment, hold on a second. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, Broderick Flanagan, PO Box 295, Athens, Georgia. I'm just here to introduce myself. I am the new executive director for the Economic Justice Coalition. I took the place of our previous leader, Ms. Linda Lloyd. For those that aren't familiar with EJC, we were founded in the early 2000s as a labor organization, and we started doing voter registration very early on. And in the last several years or so, we registered over 20,000 voters in the Northeast Georgia region, or either updated their address information. And so I look forward to continuing to work to improve the voter process and to make sure we have good nonpartisan participation through our nonprofit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flanagan.
Okay. Here's as though there are no other members of the public wishing to make open comment, so we will move on. The next item on the agenda is the director's report, about halfway through the packet.
Good afternoon, everybody. Part of your pack.
Say it again, class.
Yes, yeah, and I get another one. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, so I have we have provided you the activity report for the month of July. As of the end of July, we have an active number of voters of 72,226. Our total inactive, 12,211, giving us an eligible total voters of 84,437. That is about 94 less. No, excuse me, 94 more, I believe it is, than what we had last month. I believe it is. Let's see, cancellations, we have 41. One voter requested their name be removed, could be because of moving out of state, not really sure, but one. And then 40 who were removed for deceased voters. We had no felony removals this month. And that may just be because of the information that we received from Jarvis. We may not have received it yet for since the last election, the last month, which was 2. And then I got election on my mind. And then we have 36 voter IDs that were requested and issued. So we're running kind of like a tight ship of 36. So we had that many last month. And as of date, year to date, we have issued 228 voter IDs. The next item that I would like to update you about is our Athens-Clarke County Advanced Voter Sticker Contest, which kicked off today, and Nathan Ork, who is one of our astound election clerks, will give you an update on that contest.
Hey, board. So in front of you, you've got the flyer about the elections contest. On the back, there's all of the guidelines and the submission form for this particular contest. It's just a submission form with information that we'll get from people like their name and address to make sure they're Athens-Clarke County residents. And they will just submit 1 to 3 designs for a new sticker specifically to be used for advanced voting. We're hoping that this will increase early voting turnout. Charlotte had the great idea to make it specifically for that, to get turnout up, and put in charge of arranging it. We got a lot of help from Sherry in creating the artist agreement draft, and from PIO creating the actual submission form and the materials to go out, like the news release. And so submissions started being able to be taken today. And we'll be able to take submissions all the way until August 27th. After that, we're going to have a short period of time where we'll have a panel of judges who will use a score sheet to give scores to all the different designs that were submitted. And a handful of the designs that have the highest scores will be finalists, and those will be voted on during the month of September by any Athens-Clarke County resident who would like to vote. And that will also be a forum on the website. Both for the designs and for the voting, we're going to have a way that people can do it in our office, like a printed out version. But most of it's going to be online. There will be that other possibility for people who need it. Yeah, we're very excited about it. We've tried to spread it to a bunch of different groups. We've got people from Public Art and Linden House involved. We've got people with the Georgia Museum of Art. I reached out to the Clarke County School District as well as some people from UGA. So we're trying to get it around to people who are artistic and also just generally the students as well as like the Community Council on Aging and reach those different demographics of residents in our areas.
Great.
Good work.
Thanks. Anybody have any questions?
Is the board eligible to?
Yes.
Okay.
You can submit if you want.
I'll let my daughter do it.
Yeah.
All right. Next thing is our National Poll Worker Day. And we have Lisa, who is absent today. So I'm going to ask if Aletha, can you speak on this to update us on our poll workers, how we would honor them, and the times and day locations? Thank you.
So on Monday, August the 14th, from 10 to 1, and then August the 15th from 5 to 8. Both times are at the Athens Regional Library. We will be honoring our poll workers, past and present, and they will watch a movie that's geared for election purposes. That's No Time to Fail. And they can sit and watch the movie. We have awards for them. And we'll have like refreshments for them. So if you guys want to come by either time, that would be appreciated. Then on August the 16th is the actual National Poll Worker Day. And so we will already have honored our poll workers on the 14th and the 15th, but we also have North of the Arch on the 16th, which is a program that we participate with UGA, and it's their freshmen coming into college, and they're like on a scavenger hunt. And so they have to come by the office and take a picture, show that they were there. That's it.
So the 16th is all day long, or?
The 16th is from 10 to 2, I believe it is.
That's for
North of the
Or the 16th, North of the
the
Arch.
Arch. Gotcha. Kim, is that correct? Dates, times, but awesome. All right, the next item is the board's goal retreat. We have 2 dates scheduled for your retreat, August the 23rd and 24th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. What we need today is to find out the location. Aletha has a couple location, one particular location that will be at Bobby Snipes, both days. And then we would like to get from you what your topics for discussion will be. I do have some that I've noted, which is the Spanish language rollout, your goals. And what I'm hoping that we could do is coordinate 2 retreats each year for you, semi-annually. So that means that you will have a retreat in August every year and a retreat in February every year. Okay? And so you would roll out your goals, set your goals, and what I want to kind of put before you is looking at what our goals are and looking at the department's strategic plan. And so that we're both able to achieve our goals and to achieve them timely and to make sure that we're in harmony with each other. And doing that, you can also establish what you want your template to look like for your advanced voting. And that retreat's gonna take place like next 2 weeks, right? So we would need to get a notice because it is an open meeting. It will be an open meeting and not a special meeting, but an open meeting, and it will be labeled as a retreat. And that we want the public, if they would like to, be there to observe, but it is not time for them to have public comment or anything like that. But for us to both get on the same page, staff and board get on the same page, and that we're accomplishing goals and again, like I said, doing it in harmony, most effective as we can, because we work good together, right?
Yep.
Okay, so if you want to talk about that with your agenda, your topics, that would be great. And I can have all of that ready for you, like a PowerPoint presentation. And what I foresee happening is putting up like each month, this is what the office would like to achieve, and this is what you guys would like to achieve. And then, make us look good, right? Okay, the next item is an update on the timeline of the polling location and precinct boundary changes. Just to let you know that we do have the resolution publication or the notice is already been publicized. It started on August 30th. We will have additional publication dates of August 13th, August 27th, and the day before your meeting. Well, I think it's the day before, but I don't know. No, it's not. It's the Sunday before your meeting, so September 10th. Because your next meeting, September 12th, will be where you will make the decision on the proposed changes. And then from that point, staff will begin preparing the changes or entering the changes in our Jarvis system. And then we will begin preparing for our November mailing. Now, our mailing, we're going to push beyond the December 13th. We're going to plan ahead. So we want to have our poll workers have their cards in hand by December 13th. Though December 13th is the day that we're to inform our voters. We want them to have them in hand by that date. So my goal is for us to begin mailing out those cards shortly after the November 7th election. Because if we have a November election, then we want to make sure that voters are still in the place that they are assigned to, what the current locations are, and then moving forward. Now, if we don't have a November 7th election, meaning that if after qualifying, none of those candidates are contested, then there will be a cancellation of that election, and we can go ahead and start making those preparations far in advance of November 7th. But shortly after November 7th, I'm going to say about 3 weeks, we'll start trying to get those cards in the mail.
Still have to conduct the winter vote one.
Yes. So we'll do that. But hopefully that won't be uncontested too. Okay, let's see. The next item is an update on the agenda item that has been submitted to the Mayor and Commission. and it's pertaining to our department's name change to Athens-Clarke County Department of Elections and Voter Registration. And that meeting, agenda setting meeting is August the 15th, and then the voting meeting is on September 5th. So just to let you know about where that agenda item is, the tracking of it. The next item on my update is the no contact or the NGE process that is conducted by the Secretary of State's office. And this is following the line of the official code of Georgia 21-2-234 and 235. 234 deals with voters who are, have been with no contact on their registration for at least 5 calendar years. They will be given 30 days to make contact with the county registrar. So we have confirmation notices that are going to go out in the mail starting on August the 10th. And if the voter does not respond to that notice, that's the no contact notice, within 30 days, then their records will move to the inactive status. So that number that I gave you previously, the inactive numbers, 12,211 could grow. And we have on the no contact, 1,519 voters who will receive those no contact notices. Then on 21-2-235, it's pertaining to the NGE mailing. And again, both of these mailings go out during odd number years. And this is a way of Georgia cleaning up its voter registration list, its rolls. It kind of makes us look good when it comes to looking at our voter turnout after each election. But anyway, so these voters are sent a notice because they have been in inactive status. And they've been on inactive for 2 years, 2 general election years. So that's a total of 4 years. So those voters will be given a 30-day timeline as well, that if they don't respond by completing those notifications, those confirmation notices, then within that time, their records will be moved from inactive to cancellation. Again, it's all about voter transaction. So a voter who changes his or her name, signs a petition, comes into the office to check on their voter registration, a person who votes, they, once that happens, when you're in the inactive status, you move to active. But just for clarity, inactive voters are eligible to vote, but it takes a transaction, a voting transaction, to put the voter from inactive to active. Yes. And this is following the guidelines of the official code in Georgia. So we've already heard about the advanced voting sticker contest. Thank you, May. And then Audra will provide you information about our open records request that we've received. Then after that, if you have any comments or questions, I will gladly take those.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
For the month of July 2023, we received and processed 7 open records requests. Yes.
They're on a roll.
All right.
Yes. And I'd like to go back to one more thing. We have a facilitator for your retreat. And Aletha, if you could tell us who our person is.
Our person is our organizational development director, and her name is Patrice. If she's listening, please don't get me. Naya Tume. I've been practicing her name all afternoon. Naya Tume. She will be the facilitator, but she is our organizational development director.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious to know, since we approved beginning the scope of work for the Spanish language project manager, where are we at with that?
Yes, good question. So we have been working on getting, basically learning what the process is, right? Because of the dollar amount, it doesn't meet the threshold that requires a RFP. We're moving towards just as the process as we normally do when we're confirming a vendor for services that we need. So we, I'm gonna let Letha tell you what about that.
Well, before we do that, I think that is an agenda item.
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay, cool.
So if you wouldn't mind, we could just.
Sounds good.
That's
If there are
okay.
any questions about the director's report? Questions? No? I have one question on this NGE thing for the attorney's office. Obviously, you can't give an opinion on the spot, but I'm interested to know if in this code section, I understand we're required to do this process, but at which point in the year are we required? Does it specifically spell out during the month of August, you must do this? Because I mean, I understand that's what the code says, you have to do the maintenance, but does it require a timeline, basically?
I think Charlotte's telling me that she doesn't think it does, and I'm not aware of it off my head, but I can check the
Yeah,
statute.
you know how you write us those little memos?
Yeah, I'd be happy
Could you
to.
just give us a little
The first 6
breakdown?
months.
So is my question pretty clear? Okay, that's all I wanted.
Yeah. So yeah, the Secretary of State identifies them in the first 6 months of each odd number year, which they did, and then they sent us the information. So, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Then from there, it might not be specified.
People send me information all the time, but do I need to, am I required to do something with said information at any given time? That's what I'd like to know.
well, I will tell you that they did tell us when we need to send those statewide, that we are to send those confirmations out. On August the 10th, I think is the date that they gave us.
Yes.
It was from an official bulletin.
Is that this
This
email that's in
email.
our packet?
Ah,
It may be in there.
An email.
They did send it to us by email. I'm not sure if it's in this one.
yeah, I
But they
mean,
said to mail it out on August the 10th. And so that will be 30 days from that day, based on this code section.
Yeah, I briefly read this email, but I guess my question still stands because I can say whatever I want in my email too. Does the law require us to send it by August 10th then?
Yes, it
If I could
does.
get them.
In the code section, it specifies that after we receive that list, no less than 30 days and then no more than 60 days prior, do we have to mail a notice to that person, letting them know that we do not do an action that they would cancel.
Thank you. Right. Any other questions specific to the director's report?
next item, we will move into old business, and the one item under that is an update on the RFP for Spanish language translation. And
Director, would you just start over with what you just said a minute ago and we'll start fresh?
Sure, and I'm gonna rely on Aletha to help me, because she does the procurement process for our department.
Mhm.
But rather than having to do an RFP because of the dollar amount, it's less than $100,000, which it is, then less than 50, less than 50, then an RFP is not required. So what we have done is we've provided you via email the list of vendors that were approved by the state. And I believe our purchasing department also provided one vendor that offers translation services. One of the things about the policy with Athens-Clarke County is that if there has already been well, let's see, let me get back over here. Brad. That ACC is permitted to purchase goods and services from cooperative agreements, federal contracts where available, and state of Georgia contracts without regard for further government requirements.
Okay, that answered my question
that's-
from the other day.
Yes, so that's why we provided you the
Understood.
state ones, yeah. Now, you would have to decide, the board would make the decision on which vendor we would select, and you would just maybe tell us why, just so we could have that documented for the procurement process. We did speak with one vendor today that called at our, that we had been in contact with. And we have provided them with your scope of work. They will get back with us with an estimate and a service agreement. Because we do want to have some kind of agreement, even though we're not required to have an RFP. We would like to have an agreement for something as delicate as this, right? We all agree.
Yes.
But anyway, Alisa, did I cover everything else? And basically what we do is once you decide who you're gonna go with, we got the agreement, then we'll start working.
I'm just curious. When did we discover this? Because we kind of went through the whole,
Yeah.
is it just something somebody discovered or?
Well, when we started to do our process of reaching out to our purchasing department, that's when we found out.
Oh,
Because we haven't been communicating with purchasing, we've just been taking your suggestions.
They were like, by the way.
Yes. When we started like inquiring, okay, now we need to know what the RFP process is. And then it was like, okay, this is how much money you're spending, you don't need it. So.
But if I could just chime in really quickly, we do want to make sure that we're trying our best to pick the lowest, like appropriate bidder. So that doesn't mean that you couldn't choose someone who wasn't the lowest, but you would need to have a good reason for why, like
Of course.
there was some deficiency in that person's skill set or something like that.
So on that, 2 notes on that. Let's add that to one of the retreat days.
Yes.
I think everybody already be there.
Now, would that go with your timeline though? Like, when you want to get it done and all that?
I have questions about that.
Oh, hold on, one other thought.
Okay.
So that person reached out to our office and that basically I can look at somebody short, I don't know, I don't know these people. So like, what process can we take to make a decision? A presentation, a flyer, a conference call, like I need, right. So I don't know how we could do that at the retreat or at a portion of it.
I don't think we can vote on anything at the retreat.
No.
So if I can say 2 things, I think it depends on how you notice the retreat. I mean, technically speaking, there's nothing in the Open Meetings Act that says retreats exist and also that you can't vote there. It's just a practice. Technically, a retreat is a special called meeting. So, if you wanted to announce that it was going to be a retreat that incorporated, a voting session, or if you just want to call it a special called meeting. But I agree, in practice in Athens-Clarke County, there's no voting at retreats, but there's not a legal rule that says you can't.
Oh, right. Okay.
But you'd want to be transparent and clear to the public, whatever you chose to do. And then I know you're waiting, there was one other thing that it's just gone over my head. So why don't you go ahead?
Can I say that maybe you can vote on it? Y'all can talk about it at the retreat and then vote on it in September.
Yeah, that was my intent. I may have said different words than that, but I obviously I know we can vote at a retreat, so.
The only thing I could share, sorry.
Why don't you finish and then Adam, because I think.
Sorry, it just came back.
Different topic, yeah.
We occasionally, like the attorney's office, have had to gone through the procurement process when you're looking at a really small sum of money. And what we typically advised is, and I think purchasing is advised as well, is try to get at least 3 quotes. That doesn't mean you can't get more than 3 quotes, but at least 3 reasonable quotes. Review those however you would do that internally.
I get my roof done. I do the same.
Exactly. It's literally the same process. And then you're just trying to justify, if you don't go with the lowest quote, why.
Yeah, and the guy shows up, I'm like, well, he was on time, okay, yeah.
Right, exactly.
He shows up. Yeah, right.
And this time.
But was my previous question, like, how can we,
Yes.
we need something to, instead of just going on the internet, like Adam and then Sue.
So this is good news from what I understand. This potentially, so the process that we learned from Manager Jones was like the full works for like what would be a high dollar contract that it requires all the bells and whistles. So if I'm hearing it right, this is good news, and it means it could, if we follow the process as recommended, we could have a much shorter timeline before we are ready to move on this. Before the project manager is ready to begin the work. Have I got that right so far? that's awesome, right? We were kind of resigned, I have been resigned to, well, I guess we'll try and do it in time for May. But now suddenly the presidential preference primary becomes, I'm not thinking about November still, but I'm thinking maybe March is back on the table. I want to make sure I'm hearing that right. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be depending on the vendor. I mean, that,
Right,
again,
right,
that's
right.
something that you could decide. You could say, well, we want to go with this one because we can do it in prep.
Yeah, time frame.
Right.
Yeah.
I know also I want to be,
Attention to that time frame.
that's right. And so that can be something we use as a criterion to weigh the applications, right, for that. But I also want to be careful. I'm not saying that, because I know the other component that's really key here is getting ready for that list we're going to hand over to them. I remember when the last time we spoke about it, we thought, well, they won't be ready till April anyway. Right? We had a few minutes to breathe, but now it's like, oh, now it'll be a little sooner than April when they'll be ready.
Yeah.
If
Yes.
it all goes the way we want it to.
Yes.
That's wonderful. I want to be sure I heard that right. So, okay.
Yeah, kind of a question. Our assistant manager, he probably would have some information that what we're talking about right now, about this process. We could ask him to provide some information about guidelines, what do we look for in a vendor? Something to help us get over this hurdle.
Yeah. Or our purchasing department can kind of give us like a checklist. This is what you look for. Yeah.
If I could advise, I think the biggest thing I would try to look for is some more than actual certification and translating, so a court certified translator or something along those lines, because I think you ran too big of a risk that someone would improperly translate something and none of us would be able to tell.
Right.
One of the pieces in our scope of work was a review process from native speakers, but yeah.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Right.
Do you two have any questions, comments? You're good?
How are we going to advertise for this vendor? Is that something we already discussed?
Well, I believe, but it was going to be an RFP. Sorry. I know that what the plan had been, my understanding was it was going to be posted officially back when it was going to be a full RFP. It was going to go out for bids, but I think that changes things now that it's not going to be an RFP.
Yeah.
We sent out we sent out the list that had the different approved vendors. Yes, that's already.
State level.
Yeah, that's where we're
State
working.
level.
And the law says that we can use state vendors.
Suggested just go with.
But if someone decided they wanted to be a Clark County vendor, let's say there's someone out on the street standing there that has the skill set we're looking for, they can contact procurement and become a vendor.
We can submit don't we submit the
Theory.
form to be a vendor?
I mean, that's what,
Is that the process?
that's how it works at the state level. I mean,
Okay, right.
yeah, that's how it works at the state level, at UGA, but yeah.
Okay.
So to piggyback, sorry, go ahead.
Well, but if someone does want to apply to become a vendor, they don't have to go through the Board of Elections. They don't have to go through your office, right? They go through the HR or the
Procurement.
Okay.
Yeah, and they just provide their
Information.
W-9 and their,
Okay.
those kind of,
Whatever requirements are.
yeah. Legitimate business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's all I had.
And so then, just to be sure that I'm understanding this correctly, there's a list of vendors that y'all shared with us. And another one that had come to us, I believe that after was the name. Those are people who are agencies that they're already pre-approved as vendors. And so we can go with them, and I'm understanding that'd be a simpler process because they put in that much more paperwork than someone who's starting from scratch. But am I correct, though, that if we had an interested entity apply that is not yet a vendor, they can become a vendor? It's just a little bit more, some amount of more time to be as eligible as that ready to go vendor. Have I got that right?
Yes.
That anyone can become a vendor if they'll jump through the right hoops and put in the
You
right
could,
paperwork.
if you want to,
Okay.
right, yeah.
Just making sure, because there might be somebody local who has all the qualifications that we would deem necessary, but is not currently a vendor. Good to know.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, that's important to point out, like
Yeah,
how we
because
notify
someone
people of this.
Had approached me and said, how can I be eligible? And I
Right.
said,
Yeah.
I do not know. You just have to go to the Athens-Clarke County and find out.
Well, I guess then what I'm thinking then is, since we had before been thinking, well, this is going to be a months-long process, we'll talk about after Thanksgiving. But now maybe that could be something we can address more at the retreat. Work
Yeah,
out what we would like that to look like, because it sounds like it's gonna be much more of a, what do we want it to look like? Less of a state law says it must be this,
Yeah.
right? There are some guidelines we've been given by the attorney, but like as far as what we deem as the sufficient process, something we can decide on.
And I would suggest that we use kind of the same model of communication that the office used for this.
Sounds great.
Press release, short
And
press release, a little ad in the paper.
Yeah, deadline.
right.
Yeah.
Right, and then what I mentioned earlier, if it's already an approved vendor, there's no further requirements by the government. But if it's new, then yes, there are.
Right, but they only need to be vetted by Athens-Clarke County.
That's right. Our
It's
purchasing
just that,
department.
and the reverse, we could use a state vetted.
Yes,
It would be faster, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it would slow us down a little bit if we didn't go with the two we're talking about, but still much quicker than.
That's wonderful. Wow.
All right, let's move on. Next item on the agenda under new business is drafting a written agreement for non-governmental entities where voting is conducted. And Mr. Kadir is listed for that, but I know there were some email exchanges back and forth. But I'll let you go first and we'll go from there.
actually, after that email exchange, I remembered. I actually remember, what I will, yeah, and I think that I'd like to ask the attorney's help on we would like to come up with a set of guidelines on how to, or what should be included in a contract between us and the non-government entities. But obviously, we are not in a position to draft a contract or something. So how do we go about, how would the process work?
No, that's a good question. So when you say between a non-governmental entity, are we just talking about the Spanish translator? Are we talking about
Could be a church?
for what?
For
purpose?
polling
I'm sorry.
Polling precincts, so the Girl Scouts.
Right. What I would say is that, at least in my experience then with contracts, is they are all highly dependent upon the entity you're dealing with. Now, like the mall, they have their own template that we always have to revise. And I don't think they would accept anything that we sent as a template. Obviously, like the Girl Scouts or a church probably doesn't have their template. So there's nothing wrong with us working together to come up with a template. But my office would probably, I would be the one drafting it. So what is easiest and what I tend to tell departments is don't attempt to draft something in legalese.
Right.
Tell me in like plain language,
Okay.
what are the terms that you're interested in having? I'll tell you if I think they're appropriate or not. I would put them in the correct language. Or if there's concerns,
Okay.
say appropriate or not. Like if there's a legal reason it couldn't be in the contract. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll propose to the board, I'll go ahead and start on that and then just pass it around and people can add and come up with suggestions and then we discuss it at the retreat.
So are you requesting the attorney's office to start a draft?
No, I will start just,
Plain English.
plain English. We'll discuss it at the retreat and then we can pass it on to the attorney's office.
That's okay with me. I don't think that requires a vote, but yeah, we'll just.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is Emergency Operations Center for the general election in 2024, and that was put on there by me. I'll start with back in our Gabrielle conference, there was a presentation on this. I know that the larger counties do this already, and I was excited to see that a medium county, Hall County, maybe Charlotte would say it's a larger county, but that's their home. Excited to see that they're doing that. It's been something I've been thinking about for years. I wanted to start talking about it now. One, so we could potentially have the Hall County emergency.
Explain what it is.
Yeah, I will in a second. Come and give a presentation more so than me explaining it. But essentially what it is, and I know that the county operates these for other special events, but all interested parties would be in a room all day on election day. So if there was, something happened, big or small, good or bad, all parties can cross communicate with each other and the same message is going out. So if something becomes something in the media that it's not, the public information people can get the right info out and all that. And I know that the director had this in her strategic plan already, so we were like on the same wavelength when I brought it up. But yeah, I just wanted to start the conversation. I don't think we need to make any decisions or anything. Do you mind, board members, if she goes?
So I'm glad you brought this up. So, and I know you're trying to get in touch with the gentleman that made the presentation. I would like to offer us contacting to see if we can get them to come to your retreat, maybe?
Oh, okay, that's a great idea.
And provide what they had, and that can be part of your goals. It can become part of your goals for the next semi-annual retreat, and we'll be able to roll it out for the November election, 2024.
Yeah, and I fully recognize that it costs a lot of money because it takes a lot of people not doing their jobs. But should something happen, you've made up for your investment right there.
Right.
But also you can sit there and work on your laptop. You know, you're hopefully working remotely that day.
Remotely, yes.
And the other suggestion I would offer, and I think this is probably on every staff member's mind, is the board members can be the representative throughout the day at the table, so we don't take you guys off your normal duties.
I think that's a great idea.
2-4 hours, you know, we can all split it up and work with the folks on the phone at the office. And
Right.
but again, let's talk about it some more.
At the retreat.
Yep.
Good. So what type of people, who would this be included in this group?
So you'd have representatives from, I believe, if I can remember, there would be someone from 911. There would be someone from police, fire, PIO, I would think, staff, our
District.
area managers, yes, school district. Even if it's just one representative in there,
Right.
you know,
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
any emergency that can come up. We do have a preparedness operation SOP, but to have it on paper versus having the people in place to
Right.
ready, I mean,
and if we get a phone call that says, oh, there's a fire, you know, then PIO can react instantly, get the message out. Staff can go into their emergency plan, the fire department can put the fire out. Or if there's something way serious or a BMD gets knocked over, you know. And then people in the public on Facebook are like, well, they're killing the machines and they don't want to, you know, then we can do the opposite and,
right.
you know.
And if I might add, you know, we're gonna visit the big elephant that's in every election office in the entire world, specifically in the state of Georgia. May have a repeat of 2020 elections, and
Right.
rather than being reactive, we can be proactive. Able to hone in on if there's a need
They're a
for it.
very good idea.
Great. All right, I reached out to him, got one response, but have not heard the follow-up, so I'll follow up.
And if you don't mind, I'll try kind of like tackle down on that too. with
When I reply,
Paige.
I'll
Paige.
put you on there and then if you.
Okay, and Paige Thompson from Hall County, who was with this particular presentation,
Uh-huh.
she's supposed to come and visit our office really soon and to help us out with one of the projects that we're working on. And so I will kind of tap into that opportunity as well to say,
Okay,
hey,
great.
we need to collaborate, so. All right.
Next item on the agenda are announcements. Would our wonderful secretary like to read those?
I would be happy to. Monday, August the 14th from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. and Tuesday, August the 15th from 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. We're honoring our poll workers. Wednesday, August the 16th is National Poll Worker Day. Monday, August the 21st at 8:30 a.m. Candidate qualifying begins for the November 7, 2023 special elections. Wednesday, August 23rd at 5 p.m. Candidate qualifying ends for the November 7, 2023 special elections. Wednesday, August 23rd at 4 p.m. Location to be determined. A special call meeting for our goal setting retreat. Wait, we have all but decided this, the Bobby Snipes Water Resource Center.
Both days.
Both days. And then if you wouldn't mind, Ms. Perkins, if you get the address for me in just a second so I can say that. And then Thursday, August 24th at 4 p.m. at the Snipes Water Resource Center, we'll have a special call meeting for our goal setting retreat. And that address,
780 Barber Street.
780 Barber Street. Tuesday, September 12th at 4:30 p.m. right here at 120 West Doherty is our regular meeting for September. Tuesday, September 19th is National Voter Registration Day. There was an error on the agenda. I apologize. October 1st through 7th is National Voter Education Week. Tuesday, October the 3rd is election education forum that we're going to have specifically for elected officials and political parties.
Do you need to take a breath, take a break?
I mean, trying to. But am I correct that everyone's welcome to come to both of those? But
Yes.
it's geared more toward
Yes,
elected officials and
specific
political parties. October the 4th, the very next day at the Miriam Moore Community Center, we have a voter information session. Thursday, October the 5th is our election education forum specifically geared for voters in general. Come to either one you'd like, come to both of them. There'll be slightly different programming more toward each of the focused parties. And then October the 16th is the earliest date to mail out requested absentee ballots for the November 2023 elections. And October the 16th is when advanced voting begins for those November elections.
October 10th.
Ma'am,
October 10th,
is that first day?
last day.
October, thank you very much. October the 10th is the last day to register to vote, to be eligible to vote in those November elections coming up. Thank you very much. Got to let that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Last call for comments or questions. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion, Ms. Till, second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Kadir. All those in favor say aye.
I